And it's funny, after I got fired and my confidence went to a zero, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start embracing the fact that I have flaws just like everybody else. And the more I rock my flaws as my advantage and what's unique and different about me, the better I feel about myself.
End of the road, just pivot and go. Pivot and go.
All right, let's get this thing rolling. So start us off with a bang, something that maybe not everybody knows about you. Successful businesswoman, author, speaker, you just kill it, but something a little different.
Okay, this is true story. My whole life, I have smelly feet. Like literally, my feet stink. They're disgusting. And I've built this whole career and facade in my life. You know, I was in corporate America for 20 plus years. And I always used to try to project this like really powerful image. And I would be nervous. I didn't ever want someone to smell my feet or to know I have sweaty, stinky feet. That's disgusting, right? You're trying to be perfect and you have all these imperfections. And it's funny, after I got fired and my confidence went to a zero, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start embracing the fact that I have flaws just like everybody else. And the more I rock my flaws as my advantage and what's unique and different about me, the better I feel about myself. So that's something that I feel like a lot of people say, oh my gosh, she's crazy that she shares this, but it makes me feel better about who I am.
Oh, that's so good, because we all have those things, and we'll get really in depth on this in your new book, Overcoming Your Villains, of the masks that we put on, the facades that we put on. And the most freeing thing to be is yourself. But it's so hard for people to do. We're our biggest defenders. So before we get into that meat, talk to me about your biggest life pivot, because you climbed the corporate ladder, like amazing. But talk to me about the biggest life pivot you've had to make, how you got through that, how you pivoted and basically gone on to what you have become today.
Without a doubt, this is so easy to answer. I grew up poor, and then one of the things I knew because I grew up poor was I never wanted to be poor, right? So I got real clear at a young age, like 9 years old. I'm not gonna live like this. I have to find a way to drive revenue, whatever that looks like. You know, I didn't know at the time, but I started chasing a paycheck at 9 years old and never stopped, right? So that led me to becoming a chief revenue officer in media, you know, winning all these awards, making a lot of money. But more than that, to me, it was like I saw it as this safety and this certainty. I thought I was in this well-lit arena where I knew the next move after chief revenue officer is CEO, and maybe it wouldn't be for the company I was working for, but it would be another one. And I had all this expertise and network. And I used to say I have golden handcuffs. I don't love my job, but I love my paycheck. I have to do what I do. And this was a story that I would perpetuate and tell myself. I'd tell others. My son would say, you hate going to work. You complain about traveling all the time, but that's what I have to do. You know, I had to do it. So anyhow, getting fired for me from that situation, from that story, from that role, I was so scared because I had never thought about working for myself. That sounds really scary. I thought safety meant work in corporate America. It's well lit. You know the next move. You know the next pitch. You know who's in charge. You know who you have to talk to. But this whole idea of, wait, you go to work for yourself? How do you know who's going to pay you? Where does the money come from? Where's the pipeline? Where's the trajectory? Where's the plan, the roadmap? And so when I got fired, I took that opportunity to, number one, ask for help, which was brilliant. I never used to ask for help. And now, as you know, as soon as I got on the phone with you today, I'm like, David, can you help me? I'm always asking for help, right? All the time, because asking for help is something strong people do. And I used to be afraid that I would appear weak if I asked for help. So I wouldn't when I was younger. That's like one of the beautiful things that age gives you, is some wisdom. So, you know, I took that opportunity to ask for help and be vulnerable and shine a light on shame and start saying, you know what, I don't know what being an entrepreneur looks like, but if I'm ever even going to take a glance at this idea, it's got to be right now that I'm unemployed. And that led me down a very uncertain path in a very dark world. It wasn't well lit the way I saw corporate America. But, you know, here I am 3 years later, and I'm so grateful I did it.
Oh, this is so good. This is like one door closes that you thought was your door, your thing, four open in an entire beachfront patio overlooking the ocean. Oh, I love it. I love it. And asking for help.
David, but to that point, I want to say something about that.
Yeah.
What I came to realize that I didn't know at the time, the day that woman thought she fired me, I had actually fired my number one villain. And what happens is when you fire a toxic, negative person from your life that doesn't want you to succeed, they're in your circle, but not your corner. But when you fire them from your life, that just what you said happens. 4 opportunities come, 5 people come, all these good people start showing up where before you were blocked by negativity. I truly believe this. So that day I fired that villain from my life, so much opportunity came to me.
Beautiful. The setback that we think is often the setup, if we're willing to take that chance, which you have done a miraculous job of doing. So I want to get into that. Let's talk about overcoming your villains, because a lot of people think villains come from the outside, but it's not. It's the villain that we have on our inside. I've never heard that before. Fire yourself. That's really cool. Let's get into what does overcoming your villains basically mean. In essence, what does that mean?
Well, listen, we can all have toxic people in our life. We can be drawn to toxic situations. We can repeat, negative patterns from our childhood, and those can all be villains in our life. Social media can be a villain in your life, totally. Right? Depending on how you respond to it and how you use it. Being in the wrong career can be your villain, right? If you're an artistic person who loves to paint, but you're sitting as a CPA, miserable at your job, your villain is your career. Some people are eating unhealthy and not working out, and their villain is this holdback around their weight. It's really about getting real with yourself and saying, there's a lot of situations in my life. I need to start analyzing, how do I feel and show up in each one of them? Whether it's having lunch with a friend and you leave and say, I don't feel so good about myself right now. Doesn't mean they're a bad person, but they're not your people, right? And starting to pay attention to, how do I feel when I leave the day at the office? I don't feel good. This isn't making me feel great. I feel much better on the weekends when I'm doing A, B, C, and D. How can I find a way to start moving myself away from the things that are villains in my life and moving me towards the things that I want to do? And the hardest part about this, and I know you'll get it, is that, and I knew this, I used to love speaking in corporate America. I didn't know people got paid for it. I didn't know it was a career because I lived in this little bubble called the media world, and we don't pay speakers in the media world. We just didn't. And so for me, I thought, well, yeah, I'd love to speak for a living, but that doesn't exist. I remember saying that to someone and they were like, oh, that's too bad. Yep, get back to your job. You're good at it. You should stay in your lane. And here's what I've decided to do. I've blown up all the lanes and I take my unique talents wherever I want to go. And that started with writing a book, which led me to Google, how do you sell books? And it said speak. And that led me to a speaking career where now I literally get paid to show up and speak, something I love to do that makes me excited every day. Is it easy developing a new client base and breaking into a new industry? No, but it's so worth it. So worth it.
Oh my gosh, so much good stuff in there. You are like an army tank going down just any lane, boom, you're crushing it over because you have that insatiable drive. I love how you talked about feeling, like how do you feel afterwards? It's like the rhythm that you create, the people around you create it, but you also have to be introspective on how you feel. And that goes to the point, one thing that you talk about that I love is creating your confidence song. Like that's like getting into your zone, creating your confidence song. And most people think like confidence is only derived through just the actions that you do, but I mean, you feel it, you see it, you hear it, you smell it. So talk to us on the tool of the confidence song, because I'm a nut for tools and how to like not just the whys and all this kind of stuff that sounds great, but some actionable hows. So give us some tools to create unshakable confidence.
The first two that are super powerful that just came to my mind, one is what you're talking about. I literally have a playlist that I only use when I'm about to go into something really scary. Because here's the thing I want everyone to understand. Every time you go to the next level, every time you go to take a bigger stage or take a bigger opportunity, your self-doubt is going to come back in. No one is confident all the time. And if they are, they're either lying or they're not challenging themselves to grow. It's one of the two. I guarantee it, right? I've seen this too many times. I've been the person who wasn't growing. So I didn't feel self-doubt when I was in corporate America. I wasn't pushing myself to grow. I was just staying in familiar, right? Now I'm constantly feeling scared. Self-doubt comes in all the time. I just auditioned for HarperCollins Leadership for the Audible version of my new book. So much self-doubt came in. I text my friend who's a well-known author and I said, give me advice. I need strategy. I don't know if I can get this. I need to get this. And she wrote back, ready for the strategy? I said, yes, be yourself. Obviously that was the strategy, right? But when you get in those moments of negativity and self-doubt and you're scared to go to the next level, and she grounded me, I took action, I read the chapter and I got it. And I was so excited and proud, but so appreciative that I had this friend that was willing to give me this great direction and great advice. Okay. So there's a couple of things that I really want people to do. I swear this works unbelievably well. Anytime I'm about to take a big stage, I prime my brain. First of all, I was a psych major in college, okay? And so there's this whole case study called Pavlov's Law. And what it entails is scientists, researchers had a dog, and they would train the dog by ringing a bell. And then they would ring the bell and then feed the dog food. Pretty soon, what they noticed in the research is if they ring the bell, the dog starts salivating. The dog did not need the food to appear for his body to respond. So now let's apply that to our life. This is what I've done and what I know you do. I get into what I call a zone, or, my headspace, that I know I'm about to crush something, even though I'm scared to death, right? I'm scared to go get on the big stage. I'm nervous about it. I pop my headphones in. I prime my brain over discipline, over routine, and over time. The minute Kanye kicks into my ears, it doesn't matter what is happening around me. I will tell you this. It's like I can't even see anything else. I condition my brain to know success is about to come. Heather's about to kill it. Now, so that's one. It works, I promise, but you got to be consistent. You can't say, well, this time I'm going to try it, but not next time. You're not priming your brain then. You got to be consistent about it. Every time you feel scared, you get nervous, put those headphones on. Only play that music when you need that priming. And remember the dog. The researchers showed that the brain works such that when he heard the bell, his body started to react without the food. You are the same. It works every time. Okay, that's one great hack. Another one that works really well, and I only learned about this, I've been doing it my whole life, but I learned about it when I had Dr. Cross on my podcast a couple of months ago. He's a psychologist in the Midwest. We were talking about different routines to get you out of negative headspace, stop, using negative talk to yourself. And he asked me, he said, what do you do? I said, I'll tell you what I do. I always cheer myself up and coach myself. And he said, well, tell me what that's like. So I say, if I get into something's going wrong in my life and I'm getting full of self-doubt, I'm getting negative, I'll say, Heather, I basically come out of my own body and look at myself, figuratively speaking, right? But I talk to myself as if I'm a different person. There's science behind this. I didn't know it, but I have always done it. And I start coaching me. I say, Heather, knock it off. All right, you've had your pity party. That was long enough. Now, let's talk about this. You overcame divorce. You overcame getting fired. You overcame the 08-09 recession. You just survived a global freaking pandemic. You are a badass. You can take this on. Now get moving and do it. I literally talk to myself like that, and then I go, right? So anyways, Dr. Cross was telling me he's done years of research with students around teaching them this very specific habit, that the minute you start getting negative speech going on in your mind, pump the brakes, step out of your body and speak to yourself in the third person, the same way you would to a great friend that you're encouraging. And that trick actually will help you break that negative habit.
Wow. Those are two very powerful tools. And like you said, it is consistency. You have to continue to do that. It's muscle memory of the mind. And that's how you create it time after time after time again. What Kanye song is your pump up song?
I have a lot. I have a lot of Kanye songs. I don't want to say the name of it. Right. It's not nice. The title of the song is not nice. People will think that I'm not nice. But I'll tell you, I have a lot of Jay-Z, Kanye, and Kendrick Lamar on there.